Hello, welcome to another episode of Fight on Montana. I am your host, Adam Healy. I have my co-host here, Angel Villanueva, with us, guys. So we are here to do a deep dive into Grizzly athletics. We are glad you're listening to us. You can find us on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and our Facebook page at Fight on Montana. We would love to hear from you. Click that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Also, we want to hear from you. So rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. Make sure you hit those awesome stars. We love those 5 stars. So we are going to get into QBs and running back today. Kind of doing a spring preview before. Oh man, Angel, we have football next Saturday. Saturday, buddy.
Brought out the gear.
That's right. That's right. Next Saturday, we're going to have our first game against Central Washington. I can't wait. I can't imagine what those players are going through with, 18 months off. They've got to be jacked.
Has it been 18 months?
I believe it's been 18 months. Last game was December, was the playoff game.
It was, huh? Yeah. A week after December 7th. My birthday is the 7th. So I think it's the 14th that we played Weber State.
Yep. Yeah, so I think that's been
18 months, man, that I've been removed from football. That I haven't even thought about it in numbers wise,
Yeah.
I just say about a year, but 18 months. It's like, you know how when you have a newborn baby and they'll be like 2 years old or a little bit over 2, they'll be like they're 26 months. Like,
yeah.
You mean 2 months, 2 years, you mean? So I think it's kind of like one of those things. You didn't put it into perspective until you just mentioned like that. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I always get confused because like it doesn't make sense to me. Like, why don't you just say 2 years? But that's a conversation I've had with my wife. It's like, when do you go from like months of talking about a baby to years? Like,
dude, I think after 1 year,
you have to, right?
Yeah, but people take it to the extreme. 46 months.
Yeah,
I can't keep that high. I can't divide by 12 that high. Take it down just a notch.
Just a notch.
Exactly.
Well, hey, let's hop into doing some QB action. So let's break down who do we have as QB. So the front runner right now, Cam Humphrey, he's got that experience, those 3 starts from not last year, in 2019. So he'll be a senior this year. We have Kirk Rygal from the transfer from South Florida. He'll be a redshirt junior. Going into Robbie Patterson, he's a redshirt sophomore out of Saddleback Community College. Coming off an injury, shouldn't be a problem because he's had 18 months to rehab it, so shouldn't be a problem there. You have Chris Brown, a redshirt freshman. He's also the biggest quarterback we have. I believe he's coming at it 6'4" or 6'5" from Bozeman.
Solid, yeah.
Carson Ross, freshman. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year for Montana. Also, his cousin, I believe, is Jordan Tripp, former Grizz.
Yeah, great,
yeah. So, and then coming in next after this summer is Daniel Britt, the quarterback out of Las Vegas. He's got invites to play in I think that's the blue and silver game or some game like that, but highly regarded quarterback out of Nevada. So
sweet, yeah.
But just going. What's that?
We have some depth. Thinking about it, I think during my collegiate career, even before the Houck era, I was looking at 4 deep quarterback. Now we're talking 6, 7. So it just goes kind of back to that point that Houck really likes depth, and I think he takes that in consideration for every position. Because a lot of these guys are like you said. I think Chris Brown is the prototype. Kind of size, kind of build when you think about what you want out of a quarterback. Being 6'4", being able to see your offensive line, that's a huge part as compared to somebody that's like maybe 5'11", 5'10", And so I think that plays a huge role into it. So man, we got some depth on that. I'm interested to see. I think this year, Cam is gonna run the helm. He's gonna take a full swing and give it everything he's got. But I'm interested to see kind of down the road where they kind of decide to go, because it's one of those positions. Like I'm fortunate enough, offensive line, you can play 5 guys at a time. At quarterback, it's really only one guy, you know. There's
Yeah.
no replace this, you know, yeah, you have a two, but for one reason or other, that two is in the development processes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether developing experience, it's a huge mental game, it's a different mental game, a mental game that I probably don't even understand as an offensive line. You know, I get majority realms, packages, kind of concepts, but they have to know everything, you know, to a T, you know, and that timing goes down, those relationships goes down. So it's a lot of pressure at the quarterback position in general. So I'm kind of interested to see where they take it. I like to think after this year, after Cam graduates, that they'll give Chris an opportunity. And that's probably being a little biased just because I know Chris on a personal, you know, kind of level. He's an awesome kid. And so I'm really excited to see kind of where he takes it, you know. But who knows with these transfers? Who knows what these guys have brought in, you know?
Yeah. Well, and one thing, you know, going into a spring or summer development, how important, Angel, do you think that is, especially for a quarterback right now? You know, you're getting reps right now. You're getting very important time. Now, it might not be first team reps, but you're getting the reps. You're getting that time. You know, in the season, you're probably not going to be getting those reps. You're probably not going to be able to say, hey, coaches, this is me. This is what you're going to get from me. You're not going to get those. You're going to be having to know the playbook and be ready. But with that spring and summer, how important is that for development?
Oh, it's huge, man. It's huge for every position, but especially at the quarterback level. You know, just thinking about kind of reflecting on my career, I know guys that were every single day, damn near every single day out there on a field with a bunch of receivers. You know, calling, texting, checking in on their offensive line guys, talking to the coaches, you know, visiting with the coaches, spending extra hours. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily see, you know, kind of being promoted and marketed on a day-to-day basis. You know, you really just see the highlights of the actual game, you know, but a lot of people don't see the time and the effort that people take, and especially at the quarterback position, because if you decide to commit yourself to a role to being a good quarterback, that is a huge, huge sacrifice, you know, just on social life and everything in between, you know, on top of being a student athlete, you know. So, yeah, it's pretty incredible, man. It's pretty incredible to see. So, like I said, man, I guess because we're going to see how it pans out, but it's extremely important to take those off seasons, probably even more seriously than you do actually in season, if that kind of makes sense. Not to downplay that the season isn't important, but that growth, that push really happens during the off season.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and it'll be really interesting to see, you know, just with getting enough reps, how are they going to, you know, are they going to keep it at 6? Are they going to keep it at 5? Are they going to trim it down? Because you're looking at right now, you know, Daniel Britt's not going to be there until the summer, but you're at 5 guys. You're at 5 guys. You've got, you know, Cam, the one with the experience, but you've got a lot of guys that don't really have any experience. Kirk Rigall, I believe this is his 4th school, and I believe about 4 or 5 years. So Robbie Patterson, I really think I think it would be interesting to see. I think this year they might use him in different packages, just because he is able to run. He's more shifty. He kind of reminds me of Jordy Johnson. He's got that 5'11" quick kind of athlete kind of role where he can run and pass. So it would be really interesting to see if I totally think they're going to go with Cam because he's got the experience and just experience with the program. But it'll be really cool to see if they do some packages, kind of like, I don't know what year it was, but the Florida team where they did the double quarterback. I think Tim Tebow was his first year, I believe. It'll be really interesting to see what kind of dynamic that they put in there, or maybe they don't, and they say, hey, we're just going to develop these guys. But I've heard, you know, Chris Brown is a guy that's got all the throws. He's big, athletic. It'll be really interesting to see what happens because you've got 4 guys after this summer that are sophomore freshmen.
Yeah, exactly. Room for opportunity, room for growth right there. And I think that's the craziest part. It's really kind of, I kind of think how you mentioned it the second time. I think what they're going to do is they're going to give Cam the opportunity to play these next 2 games. You know, I think they're going to let him kind of run wild first couple quarters. But I do think they understand the importance is, I mean, every game is absolutely important, but the importance is really making it to next fall healthy, ready mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually in that place to say, hey, I'm ready to play some ball. And so what I think what's going to happen is I think they're going to give him a taste of the ball. I think they're going to give him an opportunity to make a couple throws, during some real live, competition. I do believe that they are going to pull him and that they're going to be able, or they're going to give the opportunity to some of the young guys just to showcase what they can really do against some competition. Because I'd like to think that playing against, being on a scout team, playing against those scout guys on a daily basis provides a great challenge because they try to gravitate towards, and imitate a lot of that, the way that the competition is supposed to play. That's what they're there for. But at the same time, it's 100% a different ball game when you step on the line against somebody else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. I'm interested to see, but I think that'll be the smarter way that they kind of approach things. Kind of give Cam just get his toes wet, dip his toes in the water, and then transition to letting some of the other guys make some throws and see what they can really do.
Yeah, definitely. So this is kind of like I would love to hear from the listeners on this. What would you rather have? Would you like to throw a QB in there that's a freshman and have that guy for 4 years? Mm-hmm. Or would you like a guy maybe senior or junior that you have that's a little bit more experienced, but he's not going to be there as long? It'd be kind of interesting to see what the preference is. It really doesn't matter to me. I think whoever is in there that gives us the best chance to win is the guy that they should put in there, no matter if it's senior, junior, sophomore, or freshman. I don't have a particular qual with whatever the word is with throwing a freshman in there. If he's the best quarterback and he's going to give you the best chance to win, throw him in there.
Mm-hmm. And I think you made a great point. Whoever really is given that opportunity and privilege to run, that QB1 position, I think it's super important for guys to understand their roles. And I think Cam was that model citizen in that regard. Coming in, from transferring from Boise and having the opportunity to play here and then kind of losing that spot to Dalton Sneed, it gave him an opportunity to understand, okay, there's a lot of growth that I may need to do that the coaches need me to kind of focus on right now. But my biggest responsibility is to be the best number 2 guy that I can possibly be to Dalton. And I think he played that role beautifully. He never complained, put his head down, came to work. If anybody knows Cam has such a contagious, just weirdly, freakishly nice attitude and like kind of perspective towards life. So he's really kind of relaxed in those situations. He's like, hey man, it is what it is. I just want to be a part of the team. I just want to help out wherever I can. And that's the type of guy that you want in as your number 2. Now that it's finally at that point, okay, opportunity when it meets preparation, this is where it's at, This is where it's going to really kind of unfold. And so I'm excited to see how it plays out for him simply because he's been the best number 2 that I could possibly imagine, even through all the other quarterbacks that I've had the privilege of kind of watching come through. Because at my time here, I went through – I started off with Brady Gustafson, transitioned to Reese Phillips. Then from there, played with Gresh, Jensen before he ended up transferring to I think he went to Texas State for a little bit, and then finished off the career with Dalton Sneed, So I've had 4 quarterbacks in the 4 years that I was there. So I had an opportunity to see different styles of play, different styles of person, Yeah, and definitely. Even then, I still think Cam was the best number 2, just kind of in terms of, hey, I want to learn, I want to listen, I'm going to take the coaching, and I'm going to get better from it, And
you look at that like too. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. I was going to say he's just such a warrior, man. I'm excited for him, and if he's listening to this, man, shout out Cam, man.
That's right. So, but you kind of go into like how good of a person he is, but that's what you'd want your number 1 as too, because with what we have going into this, you use that person as a developer too, to mentor these young guys on, to make them starters for who knows when. So it's going to be really interesting to see because Coach Hauck loves competition. Iron sharpens iron, and so it's really interesting. He brings these guys in to sharpen the number 1 guy up. It'll be interesting next year, recruiting wise, if they go and get another quarterback.
But that's a tough one right there. Who knows? it may be to a certain point where they like the talent that they have in the depth chart, and maybe bringing a guy in, it just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense, and that's kind of one of the business side of things. Sometimes you as much as you want to help out another player, give an opportunity to play here, sometimes those spots are just simply filled. There's just no place and money in the agenda to bring somebody else, regardless of how much you want to do it. So I guess you can have that conversation why it is such a tough job to just be a coach in the first place. Having to call a kid and say, hey, I can't have you no more, or hey, we don't want you here no more. I can imagine, that's heartbreaking on the player side. Actually, kind of fun story. When I was getting recruited in high school, kind of towards the end, because I was a really, really late bloomer. I came from a place that it was really hard to find those contacts, so I kind of took it upon myself, and the coaches did everything they could to kind of help me out wherever they could, but I had to take it upon myself to go to Oregon State camps and go to UCLA camps and just try to put myself in front of coaches in order to hopefully provide an opportunity to play at the next level. And I remember Oregon had reached out to me, and I was infatuated with Oregon. Man, if I get an opportunity to play here, that'd be the best thing ever, this and that. Like I said, I was just late on the recruiting board, so maybe I thought maybe I'll bloom into get a couple Pac-12 offers just because I was having a couple conversations. And I remember that they were like, yeah, come try out, come out here for a camp, this and that. There's a great opportunity. We're looking for a guy. We like a lot of, what you kind of have what you can bring to the table. And I said, okay. So I started packing up, started making that thing. On the morning of that, me and my dad were supposed to drive up to Oregon, they just shot me a quick email and said, the position's been filled. We can't offer you anymore. Good luck.
Oh my gosh.
As a player, man, I was devastated. I was heartbroken. I screenshotted the email and I hung it up, in my bathroom wall, and I hung it up, and I always had a picture of it somewhere just to kind of remind myself, like, hey, these guys didn't want you. I guess that just kind of played into the motivation of wanting to really push myself, because I like to tell the story all the time, because I don't think I'm the most athletic. I think I mix with a lot of size. I think there's certain things about me that put me ahead of the curve, but I'm really proud of the effort that I put out, because I know that's one of the biggest things that you can control. So because of that, I was like, okay, I'm never going to let somebody say that they worked harder than me or I didn't try, So
that's where, like, I hope that some coaches do it a little bit differently, even if, they fill the position right after, like, they've got to know who they're going and who they like to do that right when you're going up there. That's shady. That's not right. That's just not.
Luckily, I hadn't left, and it was early in the morning when they reached out to me and they said, hey, we know you're coming up, but sorry, kind of offered to somebody else. They ended up taking it. Good luck with your kind of whole recruiting process. And I'm like, man, that sucks for me. But then at the same time, it's kind of like, man, I know there's good coaches out there that probably have to, go through this. I'm not talking about the ones that are kind of tougher to deal with, but I'm talking about genuinely good coaches that care for the sport and care for the kids. For me as a person, that'd be heartbreaking to tell kid after kid, like, oops, sorry, no scholarship for you, because so many kids are so dependent on it. You think about football, it really kind of provides means from a lot of people that really don't come from money, I can't really afford the school. I know I was one of those people. I couldn't afford school. I would have made it because I thought that was important to have, to go out and get a degree. But at the same time, it was like, man, I got no money here. I have nothing saved up. I have no, little college fund that I've been saving for since I was a kid. For a lot of my life has been paycheck to paycheck. So because of that, it was kind of like this is it for me. So to be able to tell those kids that, man, it just breaks my heart, because sometimes I hear these stories and it's one of the things that they end up getting older and older, and they're probably grateful, more times than not, I'm here that they're grateful that it didn't plan out, because, they had a different plan in mind and this opened up new opportunities. But at the same time, it's like, I was really hoping for that, and it sucked that it didn't happen,
Yeah, definitely. That's just rough. So, it'd be really interesting to see like a QB, what is important with chemistry wise. Chemistry is really important when you're going from the line to your quarterback, because it just throws everything off, throws your rhythm off, throws the play off. Is it more important to have a chemistry with your line, your center, or your running back and your wide receivers? I'm in the process of where you've got to have that chemistry with your center first to have the getting the ball.
Yeah.
interviewed Cy Sermon, and he told me a story of how him and Dalton Sneed, for like 2 summers they worked in the summer on a farm and just loaded hay and developed their friendship, developed their kind of like timing down, and just I think you have to have that connection. To be really great, you have to have that connection where you're not fumbling over each other, where you're not stepping on each other's feet and stuff like that. So I'm in the mind where you have to have that with your center first, and then you grow it out.
I have a couple of different trains of thought with that, and I think there's an immense amount of relationship building when it comes to both or all 3 groups, the running backs and receivers, obviously the tight ends is 2, and the offensive line. But I do think you kind of have a great point in talking about maybe the more important relationships is that offensive line, that center position, just because if you can't get a play started, there's no way in hell that you're going to get a ball down the field to your receiver.
Exactly.
And don't get me wrong, they work on it a ton. Looking back on my time, it was every single day in the summertime, on the weekends, 2-a-days, 3-a-days. Let's go out and throw some balls at the park, down the street. Let's go out. Let's go watch film together. Let's go sit in this together. And it even extends to more than that. Cam does a great job of hanging out with those guys outside of football. Hey, let's not talk about football. Let's throw that out the water. Let's go have a barbecue in the summer. Let's go float in the summer. I think that camaraderie building is super huge. And I think Cam does a great job in just being able to build it with all the people. And that's what I'm saying. He just has such a positive perspective and attitude that it's a little contagious at times, But I think you do have a point. I think kind of at first I was like, well, I was kind of going to debate you and be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's just as important because the receiver's got to catch the ball. You got to throw at the right time, right space. You got to know the timing, kind of the length. Some of them are longer. Like Sammy, I think he has a 5X glove. I have 2X hands.
Really?
So I think so.
Crap.
So I think I'm 2X. I think he's at least 3 to 5.
Holy cow, that's some big hands.
So yeah, you think about him. He is a big receiver, 6'4", 6'5", lengthy, long, 5X gloves. That's a big boy right there.
Holy cow.
And so just kind of thinking about it, it was like that guy's gonna play a whole lot different as opposed to a smaller guy. Like for example, Jerry Lou McGee. Two different styles of players, so it's equally as important. But I think if you can't even get the snap off, that's a lot of times where it goes wrong. Just miscommunication. Knowing if they're under center or behind. And there's such a big trust too. I remember Cy Sermon during the time we were playing, he was given, the opportunity a couple times if he saw something to turn around and reiterate it to Dalton to say, hey, do you see this? So that communication is absolutely huge. And then from there, it trickles down the line. Once we hear the call from Dalton, when Cy says it, it trickles all the way down to the tight ends. And then from there, he makes the, kind of the hand signals, and the receiver should know what they kind of got.
Well, and it just kind of going into like a different environment. Like, the Grizz played Oregon. They play Washington. Those Pac-12 teams, you're going into a loud stadium. You're, you're going to have some type of communication with your line.
I still think Washington Grizz is louder, to be honest.
See, and I've heard that too. But I think it's just so important to be able to have that communication with, and that just that chemistry with that person that you're going under, just to be able to get a playoff. Interesting story though. A past episode with Daniel Britt, the one that's coming, quarterback that's coming in this next summer. He told me a story of how they were doing drills and whatnot, and he actually hiked the ball and he was going to hand it off to his running back. And, they were too close, and he went like this, and he hit either like a pad or a shoulder and shattered his face.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
So, we can do this and that and, talk about that, but man, football's timing. It's all about timing. It's all about, communication and chemistry, no matter what spot. I'm still in the belief that, you've got to have that to get the ball off, but it trickles down, trickles down from there. So.
And it's funny that you mentioned that story, because there was multiple times throughout my career. So as an offensive lineman, there's aiming points that you have on a person. Say I get hit the shoulder blade, I have to hit inside the shoulder, and then obviously on the face mask, we had different aiming points. And one of the aiming points was that shoulder pad. you know, in order to kind of lift up that shoulder pad and drive them, you know, into wherever the direction you felt like it was, you know. But sometimes during practice, since we wear looser jerseys than in games, you know, the shoulder pad would pop under or the actual material would pop over the shoulder pad. So you just had the flappy shoulder pad. And so, since you're aiming for that, there was more times than not where I just get cut right here in between the eyes, you know, just because I would hit the shoulder pad, the little blade on it, you know. And so I definitely can relate that timing is probably one of the most important parts in football, just in general.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. So, you know, going off of chemistry wise, you know, attitude, you know, your quarterback has to have some type of an attitude. You know, what kind of attitude would you like your quarterback to have?
Oh, man, I don't know, dude. That's a tough one. Simply because I've seen so many different successful styles.
Yeah.
I mean, Brady Gustafson was one point, you know, he was regarded in high light, going to probably given an opportunity early on in the season. There was a lot of hype behind his name, especially after the NDSU win that 2015 year, which was an incredible game. Sometimes I go back and rewatch it just because it's kind of fun to see me on TV. And so
ESPN.
ESPN. It was a time, you know, and then transitioning from there to Reese Phillips, you know, who was a different style of player, who was obviously a smaller guy. Brady Gustafson, if you guys don't know, was about 6'7", you know, 230, just because he was a tall guy, great quarterback. Reese Phillips was, I think, 6 feet or maybe an inch or two under.
Yes.
I think he was 6 feet.
I think it's 6 feet or 6'1", I believe.
Yeah. And then transitioning from there to Gresh Jensen, who was a little bit more athletic type that really liked to throw his body. Mm-hmm. You know, you look at some of his own film, he threw his body into desperately getting to those touchdowns. You know, he was kind of built that way, as opposed to Reese Phillips would trust the pocket. Brady Gustafson would probably trust the pocket a little more. But Gresh was ready to run at a given notice if that meant we were able to pick up, you know, another first down. And you can kind of compare that same way to Dalton Snead. He was ready to run when that time kind of came. I think the difference between him and Cam is that I think Cam is a little bit more, okay, I'm going to try to stay in the pocket as much as I can, you know, because he's athletic enough to run for sure. But I think his style of play is going to gravitate towards, or at least I'd like it to be. I think he's going to gravitate towards trusting the offensive line a little more. One, because I think that experience is kind of there. I think this is that sweet spot for the offensive line. So I think that protection is going to be there. So I think he's going to rely on that a lot and say, hey, guys, hold up for me in the front, and I'll go make the plays and throws that I need to make, you know?
Yeah. Well, and definitely, he doesn't have to be a Dalton Snead or anything like that. He's got the pieces around him, behind him, around him, to just be a great, just good quarterback. Don't turn the ball over. Just be a good quarterback. You know, get the ball out. Don't turn it over, and it'll be fine. Like I don't see that their offense is going to drop off too much from what it was a year and a half ago.
Well, I think it's going to be 10. I think realistically, I think with the offensive line, I'm going to say that they're going to play better this year than we were a year and a half ago. And
I definitely
we were pretty decent playing, you know. Yeah. That we had a lot of good pieces on that front, you know, that starting five, also the seconds as well, kind of came in whenever they needed to, you know, and obviously with the talent that we had on the outside with Dalton back there, you know, I think it was an awesome opportunity. I think they're only going to be that much more better, which is the scary part about it, you know, and it kind of really depends how Cam decides to do it, because he can go either way. You know, if he wants to go, you know, let them block, create some holes, get some yards, he can definitely do that. You know, just kind of like how Dalton took advantage of those opportunities, was like, hey, as long as I'm going to get the first down, you know. But then, like you said, you know, Cam has he's qualified in every way. He has arm strength. You know, if he needs to run, he can go make a run, you know, for that first down. If he needs to make the plays, his timing's right. You know, he's been working hard at it. He's been an awesome number 2 for such a long time that this is his time to shine, if it's really any. So I think it's going to be, like you said, with the production that we have with those guys on the outside, you know, Mitch Roberts, Sammy, you know, Malik, you know, getting the rotation. I think a little more aggressively this year. I think they're going to have just opportunity after opportunity to make guys and kind of make guys miss, and just be an opportunity to get those first downs.
Exactly. Well, and then you throw in another year of development for Marcus Knight. It's going to be hard for opposing defenses to stop. Going back to the attitude wise, there's kind of two different kind of an old school, like where the quarterback has to be boisterous. He's got to be the leader, or I'm in the particular realm of thinking that it doesn't matter if he's the leader or not, as long as he is consistent with his demeanor, with his play. You can have another guy as long as it's on the field, because I really think that the leaders and the captains, you've got to have a captain or a leader on both sides, a leader on the offense and a leader on the defense that is boisterous. Doesn't always necessarily have to be the QB, but as long as they have that person on the field where, hey, you've got to do this, and they're boisterous, it doesn't necessarily have to be the QB, but I really do think it can't be a captain that's on the sideline. It can't be on special teams. Like you want those guys, you want a guy maybe on there, but you've got to have a captain on the defense and the offensive side. And it doesn't have to be a boisterous. I really think that you can lead by example and not lead by, hey, I'm going to yell and I'm going to put my voice out there and we're going to do this. That's just my thought process. I don't know where you're at with that.
I think at a certain point, you need to, like you said, I think you're absolutely right. You can definitely lead by example, but I think during the season, you need to have a little bit of a voice. You know, looking back at it, I remember there were certain times where Sy would call the huddle, and he'd have to scream when it was the first team, kind of guys to come up. At first, he would just say, kind of huddle up, and I remember one day, he kind of got chewed out because he was just like, that's not enough, you know. You gotta huddle these guys up like your life depended on it, and scream at the top of your lungs for everybody to get the hell over here because we have a job to do. Let's get serious about this, know. And so because of that, I think there's a place for that voice,
definitely.
And I think Dalton, he kind of led that voice a lot of the time because he had no problem saying, "All right, guys, come on. All right, guys, let's go. Huddle up. Get information. Get the huddle straight. Make sure it looks clean. Those small things outside of the actual in-game, actually lining up, saying, hey, okay, come on, let's go. Because I think providing that voice when it came down to it, when it was on the field, we were already ready to be yelled at. We were already ready for, those tougher calls, for those quick transitions, for the play call to change at any given notice, because that's what we've spent so much time doing. And through that, I think there has to be a little bit of micromanagement from the actual players. I think the coaches really kind of done it on. This is important. And the players taking upon themselves for everybody to get kind of involved in the movement and say, okay, let's go. Everybody get huddled up. Take this seriously, And so definitely. That's where I think in the offseason, 100% example goes a long way. But I think in the season, I think you need a little bit of a voice, in order to kind of put yourself in that position to kind of really be a leader. And I think that's one of the things I've been fortunate. I've been really lucky. I just kind of finished reading this book by Jocko. I think his name Jocko Willink. I think I'm saying his name wrong, right? And it's literally about leadership, and he talks about one of the things that he's just been extremely fortunate to be around some really awesome leadership. And I say the same thing for my story. I've been around some really strong leaders that are really different in their leadership styles and leadership tactics, and they all work well for certain situations. And I think I've just been really fortunate to be around those type of guys. So I think during the season, we're going to need kind of a voice to step up and say, cuddle up.
Yeah. Well, and this is a good question. Maybe you can kind of answer it, because do you think that does Coach Hauck, and I know they go into leadership and stuff like that, but does he have a kind of like leadership group where he goes into leadership styles and leadership, qualities? Do they have like a leadership like council in the?
That's a great question. I don't necessarily know the answer to that. All I know is there was an expectation for us to step up as seniors. And I think that's really kind of a given at every single kind of place. But at the same time, when I say place, I mean at every university, every football program. But he made it known. He made it known in our senior meetings that, hey, you know what? This is extremely important. We need to really focus in, and I need you guys. And I think that's one of the things that I loved most, that he was so transparent. He said, hey, we're in this together. I'm working with you guys just as much as you guys are working with me. And one, it developed a little bit of that mutual respect to know, hey, we're working together. Two, it developed kind of those expectations to say, hey, we all need to kind of step up and do our role in the different positions. You know, whether it be in the quarterbacks, we need somebody to kind of take charge. Offensive line room, we need somebody to take charge. You know, the quarterback room, same kind of thing. You know, so the expectations were laid out throughout the program. And I think because of that, you know, there's certain, I mean, you got to be able to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk.
Exactly.
And so I would like to assume, and I know there's like coaches clinics that, you know, coaches take advantage of on a yearly basis. And there could be, you know, certain places in there that talk about leadership styles. One of the awesome things we did for the university was just we get involved with so many different, you know, nonprofit or organizations or just, you know, places that need donations, and we take advantage of their services, and we come learn about, you know, different things where somebody needs plasma donated, maybe somebody needs blood donated. You know, we sign up to be those people just because we care about it so much. You know, we want to be somebody that helps out in the community. And I think that was some of the coolest things. And so because of that, there's leadership involved in that. So I think they learn a little bit from it too, and they come give them seminars to us. And so I think the coaches do stuff like that as well all year long.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, let's get into that group with that surrounded that quarterback. Let's get into that running back group because, you know, getting into that quarterback group where there's, you know, there's 5 or 6, you know, this running back group, it's pretty loaded as well. So, you know, yeah, you know, you've got, you know, Marcus Knight coming back from an all-American type season, having, you know, 23 rushing touchdowns last year and over 1,000 yards for the season. He's a junior coming back. From what I've heard, he's added 20 pounds of muscle, which is awesome. You know, you have Ryan Arnson is a senior walk-on from Carroll. I did think he got some praise from Houck this summer and in the fall. Then you have Nick Osmo, a sophomore. You know, he was the second leading rusher last year. I think they kind of they use him off and on. I think he had 321 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yep. You have Drew Turner. He was used sometimes in running back, but also special teams. Yeah. Elias, actually, he's not. I didn't find him on the roster, but Xavier Harris, freshman.
Elias seems to be the Waters.
Yeah, well, I didn't find him. I thought he was still on the roster.
I'm pretty sure
I went on the roster, and his name's not on there.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Well, so I think he's still around. I don't know what that is. That might just be just a mistake.
Okay, because I have him down as a you know, on here, but I went and checked, and I was like, wait a minute, he's not even on the roster.
Weird. That's weird.
So, Xavier Harris, freshman, 3-star, running back out of, I believe, California. Had 3,600 yards rushing it.
36?
36 for his career. So, you know, then you have Kevin Armstead, walk-on from Mission Hills, California.
Yep.
And then, you know, you've got another one coming in this summer, Coulter Janicaro from Missoula. He'll be a freshman this coming fall. So you've got a running back group that's kind of diversified. I think each one does a certain role, and I think each one can step up if they need to. You know, you Marcus Knight's going to be the guy that you go to. You know, you're developing Nick Osmo to be, you know, I really think Nick Osmo is like kind of that ground and pound kind of style. He's a tank. Yeah. Where, you know, you have Marcus where he's fast, he's quick. And then you have Nick Osmo where he's going to punch it. He's going to go through the line. But man, if Marcus is adding 20 pounds, man, you've got ground and pound both styles. It's a group that is diversified, that has a lot of, you know, you've got a junior, a senior, and the rest is sophomores and freshmen. So just kind of like the QB, there's depth there as well. I really like this group. I really think that this group is kind of not being talked about. I think you've got your QB, you've got, you know, your wide receivers that are being talked about. I really don't think Marcus Knight is getting the talk that I think he deserves from the last year that he is, though.
That's how he is. I'm fortunate enough that I have a relationship with Marcus, and that's exactly the type of person he is. You know, he's one of those guys that's really a natural at most things. You know, I remember my buddies were telling me that they take him out to the golfing range or something like that. He just ding bombers, and it was like, yeah, I've never played golf before. You know, throwing up weight in the weight room like it's nothing. You know, usually when guys go heavy, you know, they make faces, they react, they're sweating, they're spitting, they're screaming. You know, and this guy's just up and down. Straight faced, up and down, straight face. And that just, I think that whole kind of what you just said right now, not talked about enough, is just something that he embodies. He doesn't like being talked about, I think. I think he's just one of those guys that just goes out and plays it because he's so passionate about it and expects nothing from it. You know, because I think he knows that, hey, you know what? I mean, this is super cool to be playing. I'm super humbled by it. I'm going to take it and just run with it and enjoy it. I think he's one of those guys that really knows how to sit back and just enjoy the moment for what it is and go out there, have fun with it. And he prepares like a champ. You know, he's always eating. He's always preparing. He's always working out. He's always active, you know, and I think that just goes to show the type of person that he is. You know, where that falls into leadership, it's a different style than maybe a lot of those other guys are used to, because he's not very vocal. He's just kind of, hey, I'm going to show up to work, but that's a leadership role in a sense. How successful he is a reason why he's a leader, you know, and I think a lot of those guys see it, you know. Arnie, he's been around for a long time. He's seen some, you know, some football as well. Now he's going to get an opportunity to play a little bit, kind of the ground and pound. Nick Osmo too is a tank. I was surprised when he came in, some of the hits that he was given and some of the hits that he was taking, and he would just get up and pop up like it was nothing, like next play, let's go. You know, they're just some of those guys there. There's that depth. There's kind of that talent. There's, you know, that opportunity, that perspective. There's, you know, there's everything that you kind of want out of that diverse group. The only thing I was even talking to you, it's just kind of a random note, but just some of the hits those guys take. You know, but playing on the offensive line, I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to deal with a lot of blitzing corners, you know, or blitzing linebackers. A lot of times they'll come up to the line and they'll pressure you, and you'll be able to kind of tell, be like, okay, I kind of know what this is. I know what kind of stunt they're going to run. I know kind of, you know, what they're looking to do, at least a general sense. And so when a guy does come from depth from 5-10 yards, you know, that's so much harder to block and slow down than a guy that's 2 inches away from me, you know, as a defensive lineman. And I think about them having to block. Some of those guys, like you said, everybody's built differently. Some of them are grounded pounds, some of them are shifty, some of them are small, some of them are humongous. You know, imagine taking on a guy from depth like that. You know,
I can imagine that
and over and over. Like, oh my gosh! First of all, the toll on the body. And having to run through grown men, you know, 6'5", 200 and something pounds, 300 and something pounds, and just get your face smashed in all day, you know?
Yeah.
So it really is an interesting position, because I think they take on a lot more. I think consistently throughout the game, the offensive line might take more kind of pain, and they're a little bit more pain. But I think the whole premise of it, man, they take some shots that could really put some people out. You know,
well, I can't imagine taking, think about a cornerback coming from the end. You know, he's got what, 10 yards? 10 yards to run, and then you're trying to, like, you're not moving. You'll move over and you'll try to block him. Yeah. But
I think about
some linebacker. Oh my gosh.
Think about some of those guys. Some of those guys, you know, on the defensive end position, imagine just getting a full head start kind of off a blitz package. He weighs 240 pounds. He runs a 4, let's just say 4.5, because I don't know why everybody in this year's combines and their pro days, they've been having some crazy numbers. I've been seeing guys that weigh 250 run. I think I saw someone that ran like a 4.49 or something like that at 250 or 200. Yeah, I see a lot of offensive line that are running 4.8s and 5.1s and, you know, 5.0s. And I'm like, man, the athleticism on those guys. Imagine a guy getting full steam, 10-yard sprint towards your body, and you have to take it. And kind of what I was talking to you offline, can you imagine being the quarterback, you know, that for some reason, you know, an assignment was missed and that guy just runs straight onto you on the blind side, knocking the air out. I think it was Mississippi State, my sophomore year, my freshman year, was not having a good day. Started off, you know, kind of all the series, just a little bit rougher than I'd like it to be. And so I remember one day there was a blitz that came up from a linebacker that was like 5 deep. I knew he was my guy. I saw him, but for whatever reason, like I had a brain fart and I went a different direction, you know? And because of that, Brady Gustafson took a shot that took him about 15 seconds to get up. And I remember I was like, holy crap.
Get up, Brady. Get up, Brady. Get up.
I was like, please get up. Please get up. I'm ready for a yelling. you know, because I knew, and it was one of those hits that I heard everyone in the stadium go, ooh.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, this is my fault. And there was no way for me to be like, well, I didn't see, it's like everybody saw me look at him. And for whatever reason, like, I don't know if I just had a brain hiccup, and I looked the other way and I missed him. And Brady got laid out. And I was sitting there like, dang. I'm so sorry, Brady. For about a year, I apologized. I was like, "Hey, Brady, I'll be there. Hey, Brady, I'm so sorry."
Buy him a beer.
He's such a cool guy. He's like, "Hey, man, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." He's like, "You're fine. It happens." I'm just glad no one got hurt,
Oh,
but
man.
I see some hits sometimes. I mean, you think about that hit that Dante gave that Portland State quarterback, last year.
Oh, yeah.
You don't like that. How can you train for that? How do you train for those hits? You don't get hit. You're not a boxer. You're not sitting there getting punched in the stomach all day or doing ab exercise and neck rolls in order to kind of take those hits,
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at that. I think it was Joe Theismann, the hit that he took off of, what's his face? Linebacker out of New York, big, like a Hall of Famer. I can't think of his name. Ended his career.
Imagine the NFL, some of those guys take. Good for you guys. It's kind of funny. It was just a random story that I was telling Adam right before the show started, is that when I did think I was going to pursue a career in the NFL, I remember when I first got here to school, my quarterback's name was Brady too, or we called him Brady. In my first year coming to the university, my quarterback's name was Brady, and obviously I knew that wasn't going to last forever, but at one point I was like, how cool it would be to be able to say, Brady is all throughout my career,
Play with Tom Brady,
college, and then potentially Tom Brady at the NFL level. Man, I was like, man, it was just a fun little story that I always kind of held on to. I was like, man, I hope I get that third piece,
There you go.
Yeah,
hey, maybe Tom might listen to this, and maybe we can get you to play some pickup football.
Well, who knows? Fulfill that dream, fulfill that gap.
Do the check off that list.
Get off, man. That'd be sweet, dude. Shout out Tom Brady, the GOAT.
Yeah. So hey, who do you think? Osmo's probably the one that's going to back up Marcus Knight, since he's got
the combination. Experience. It reminds me of the combination when we had John Wynn and Jeremy Calhoun.
Yep.
So John Wynn was really great about driving the ball, and they trusted Jeremy Calhoun to really kind of punch it in those last 10 yards. Even though it could be up for debate that maybe John Wynn was a better closer just because he was a bigger body, but not necessarily. Obviously, Jeremy produced extremely well. I think he was all conference, that year, and potentially first team, the following year before he ended up leaving the program. So he had the potential, that was crazy too. But I just think there was such an interesting kind of dynamic to be able to drive the ball down the field. And then I just kind of start thinking about, like, from the running back position, I wouldn't know how I felt if, I was driving it 98 yards and a different guy was punching it in for
that. That would piss me off.
So that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it's a good concept because it's a team. And obviously they're going to do whatever's the best for the team. But a little bit selfishly from the player side, I kind of think about my position, being able, because that was the fun part. Scoring was the fun part.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't imagine myself driving at those 98 yards, huffing and puffing, out of breath, 2 yards away, nitty gritty time, kind of pucker up, like get ready, and not getting taken out and saying, hey, we're going to have a different offensive line, play left guard and make the pull, score that touchdown.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, okay. So I don't know how I feel, man, but I think they're a great combination. I truly don't think Marcus cares about that. I really think he's just like, man, I'm just happy to be out here. Fun fact about Marcus, I don't know if a lot of people know this about him, but for whatever reason, I mean, he transferred from a JUCO. I think he went to Citrus as a JUCO. Citrus, and then Citrus is literally a city over from where I'm from. So I'm from Duarte, California. Citrus is kind of city over. And for whatever reason, you talk to Marcus, for the most part, he knows where majority JUCO players go on to play at the next level. You'll mention one guy and he'll be like, well, what's funny about him? Well, he plays at LSU now, and he's really good about kind of keeping a track on these players. I don't know why. So if you guys want to bug him, start asking him questions. Where did this player play at? Where's he at? Where's he doing now? I think he kind of enjoys that stuff.
Little quiz action going down for him.
Yep.
Well, and I think that kind of helps in his probably aspect of learning plays, learning types of formations, just having that memory as well is something that's really vital. So, I totally think, you got Nick Osmo that's probably going to back him up. It'll be really interesting to see, with their running backs, you're probably going to see some of these guys play special teams. It'd be interesting to see how they develop some of these younger guys and see how they do that. But yeah, and also to see, if you have a sleeper, which one of these guys is going to maybe make some sleeper guy.
You know what I'm curious about for the listeners out there? Who do you think is going to be on the up and coming? Who do you think is going to kind of blow out? Well, obviously, that 2014, 2015 year, it was Dante Olson. He came out, showed out. Do you guys have any predictions? It could be on the offensive side, on the defensive side, that's going to say, hey, you know what? This guy's going to blow up. Just wait. I'm just kind of curious to see what people think.
Well, and who would you think that was last year? Because I would think it'd probably be Jace Lewis. Last year,
he had an opportunity.
He didn't have like the he wasn't the guy that was well known, but he had the stats. He had over 100 tackles. He was the guy that was pretty much said to be the next guy. I think that would be probably the guy that you're not going to hear from, but like would be that sleeper, that incoming guy.
As Jace this year, you think Jace will be the sleeper again this year?
Well, I think that it was for last year.
It was for last year for sure. Yeah. Just thinking about, I think we've always had some awesome linebackers. Thinking before Dante, it was Connor Strom, it was Josh Buss. Before that, it was my Kose, Kendrick. Van Akron. We've had some very, very solid linebacker play. Even going back to that before that, thinking about Brock Coyle, Jordan Tripp, we've had some studs, So being an opportunity, while all the attention was kind of on Josh Buss, I think offenses were really planning and saying, okay, Josh Buss, we need to kind of watch out for him. So because of that gave Dante an opportunity to really step into that platform, into the light, and be as successful as he was. Obviously, once he took over that role, who kind of was able to kind of build, kind of that repertoire, that reputation of just being such a crazy good player, Jace Lewis. So now I'm interested to see if offenses are going to plan around him and which one of the linebackers are going to be able to kind of step up and maybe be that light.
Well, maybe we'll put that on our Twitter.
We'll put it on Twitter,
Twitter and see what you guys have. I totally have some for when we get to the defensive side of the ball. I have a guy that I think is going to break out this next year, this next fall. And so I'm going to hold that. I'm going to hold that in my pocket till we get there. But
good man. Get ahead again.
There you go. Well, listeners out there, we are going to be going into the spring preview like we have the last couple of episodes. We're going to keep on doing this. We're going to get into, I believe, what did we say that we are going
next week? I think it'll be we're going to be talking about the corners and the receivers.
Corners and receivers, yeah. So we'll go into that this next coming week. Make sure if you have questions, if you have things you want to let us know, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook page, and Instagram at Fight on Montana. We want to hear from you. This is also, if you're listening on Facebook or any of those, you can actually comment to us right now via live. If you see something that we have, or if you disagree with us, you're able to send a comment to us. We'll read it up on our live stream here. Also, we want you to rate, review, and subscribe. That helps us out tremendously on all the platforms, podcasting platforms. It makes us, the more rates we have, more reviews, it gets us out there a little bit more. They show us a little bit more. So, telling your friend about us, rate, review, subscribe to us. Check out our YouTube channel as well. Subscribe there as well. And, tell a friend. We want to hear from you. This is your show too. And we're going to have some great things coming up in the future. And Angel, we have football next week, dude.
Oh man,
we have football.
I
might start running around my house just like screaming, dude.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be all decked out. I'm excited. If you guys see me at the tailgating parties, come say what's up. Let's get a drink.
Angel, what type of beer are you gonna drink next week?
You know what, man? I don't even know. Just pass me something. Whatever's available. Closest
whatever's cold.
Whatever's cold, whatever's closest. Let's just keep it at that. Go Grizz.
There we go. There we go. Hey
Yeah.
guys, that's gonna take us to the end of our show. Thank you for listening, and we will check you guys out next week.
Yep. Peace.